Hello, friends, family, potential listeners that aren't friends or family. We are Autodidactica, back with another episode 3, I believe.
Yup, episode 3.
Yeah, I am Matt. He is Glenn.
True
Say
story.
hello, Glenn.
Hello,
Yeah.
Glenn.
And today's topic will be discussing Utopia, and with a subtext of money. Can human society survive and evolve without money,
Right.
without the monetary system, as some might put it?
Yeah.
Before we get into that, Glenn, how was your day?
It was long and tedious and tiring. I may or may not actually be awake right now. How about you?
Likewise, you know, uh, I got up, I did the work thing for 9 hours or so, and then I did nothing besides feed myself.
You didn't just feed yourself.
Oh, that's true. I fed my roommate.
You did feed your roommate, and it was good.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed.
Vegan chili dogs.
Chili cheese dogs.
Even better. They were delicious.
Yeah, and nutritious.
Like, I could have eaten 12 more of them.
Oh, likewise. Yeah. I mean, it probably would have taken me a few hours. Which reminds me of eating 12 chili dogs. That Project Polio.
Oh yeah.
Beyond Burger eating contest. Project Polio was on the news tonight.
Really? Vegan restaurant.
Polio,
vegan junk fast food. Oh, go on.
Yeah. No, vegan junk food fast food restaurant. It's great. Right here in Dallas. And they were on the news tonight, and tomorrow night they're going to be on Shark Tank. That's Friday, May 20th.
Interesting.
And so they're going to try and go get some funding from good old Mark Cuban.
Cool.
So hopefully that works out well for them.
I hope so.
They don't get eaten by the sharks.
Yeah, that would be bad and kind of ironic that they become a feast for carnivores.
Yeah.
Oh well.
While promoting vegan chicken.
I had their chicken. I actually had their chicken for the first time. Was it last night we got?
Last night,
yeah. It all blurred. This week has been just one big day for me. I don't know what day, what thing
this whole
happened.
Decade so far for me.
Yeah, the 20s have been unexpectedly strange. Yeah, roaring in a different way from the 1920s.
Yeah,
like roaring like they're trying to eat us.
No, they've been devouring me.
Yeah, 20s have been rough. So rough. Oh well. Things are looking up, at least for me personally. For the moment, we'll see.
Yeah. I gotta figure out how to eat on like $50 a week. It's my goal.
Yeah, you can't eat on $50 a week. I hope you find out.
Pasta was only 97 cents yesterday.
Oh yeah,
a pound of pasta.
Yeah, I guess
I will just eat nothing but pasta.
Yeah. I think I would get
there's 5 bagels in a package. Those are the most expensive thing I buy, probably. $5 pack of 5 bagels.
Yeah.
I only eat them on weekdays though, so that's like $20 right there. So yeah, I don't know. Well, that's a month. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like $5 a week on bagels. That is 10% of my weekly budget though, if I try to
true story.
$50 a week.
I don't know, like I can't get out of a grocery store these days for less than $80, like, and just get a few things. Everything's ridiculously expensive. And I think if I ate nothing but pasta, I would weigh 400 pounds by the end of the month.
Yeah. You gotta balance it out.
Yeah. It would be a good way to gain 400 pounds or whatever. Well, that implies I weigh nothing right now, but
yeah.
If I gain 400 pounds, I will weigh 400 pounds. I cannot math.
My sister makes a really good like a vegetable salad thing.
Interesting.
And they also have like those noodles that aren't like straight up like noodles. They're like veggie noodles.
Yeah.
and those are a lot like lower in calories
Got it.
and like higher in vitamins. I mean, pasta has no vitamins in it. It's literally just carbohydrates in noodle
Right.
form.
Mm-hmm.
Works
Yeah.
great for baseball players, but not so much for sedentary authors.
Right. Absolutely true. It's like, but it's so good. Like you make so much good stuff with pasta.
Mm-hmm. I love me some pasta. I've been living off of it for like a decade.
One time, like my cousin Ryan lived with me for like 6 months, and there was a period when he was still looking for work, and I was buying all the food, and there was no money. Like I worked as a manager at uh, Barnes and Noble, and we were living off of Jack in the Box tacos, like 50-cent tacos
Mm-hmm.
for weeks. And I actually lost weight doing that. I don't recommend that as a diet plan to lose
It all just
weight.
slides out of you at some point.
Right, right. It was just gutting us, I think. But I mean, that was my budget eating back in the day, was just Jack in the Box tacos.
I mean, hey, you got to do what you got to do. I mean, that was
Right.
me in high school with potato tacos from Taco Bell.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, 99 cents. And little vegetarian me and my girlfriend at the time,
Mm-hmm.
we were just like, well, damn, let's walk in there with 4 $1 bills and have lunch.
Right. A feast.
A feast. But anyway, on the subject of money, and before we go down the food route any further,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about Utopia. I wrote some semblance of notes here. We've got I've got a question for you. What to you defines a utopia?
Okay, the way that I understand a utopia is that it's kind of like a civilization that doesn't have like money. Like you kind of have, it's like there's a community effort, like everybody has food, clothing, shelter. um Everybody just kind of pitches in, does what needs to be done, but it's like there aren't poor people or rich people. And I could be completely wrong,
No,
because I didn't.
I'm asking what is Glenn's idea of a utopia?
That is my understanding of a utopia, um as a very ignorant man,
Right,
but
right. Welcome to Autodidactica,
right,
everybody.
exactly. We're either morons or geniuses, maybe somewhere in between.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's just kind of almost like kind of a socialist paradise in a way. I don't
All
know.
right. All right. Bringing in some Marxism. I like it. I like it. Um, yeah. Let's see what Matt wrote over here.
Let's do.
Um, in a single sentence, what I wrote was a society where all basic needs are provided and people are free to choose their pursuits with minimal personal risk.
Right. That's pretty
And
much
that's how I envision it. Like, hey, if you want to try to be an artist,
right. Yes.
you can do that.
Because you're not it's not like you have to go out and get a day job. You
You will
can
not starve.
pursue, yeah, you can
You will not,
pursue
you
your
know,
dreams.
die in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So do you think it's possible that we can get there? I wrote some other stuff down here. Because you seem to have a fixation on the money side of utopia.
Yeah.
In Glenn's utopia, money wouldn't exist.
Right. I hate money. I'm not a fan. I hate the monetary system. I think it creates a class system. We have so much food on this planet. Like I think the monetary system really only benefits rich people. And I think the more technologically advanced that our society becomes, the more outdated the monetary system is going to become. All things end. The monetary system will end one way or another. I think we're eventually going to grow out of it because so much is automated. That's going to hurt jobs down the road. The more and more automatons, robots take our jobs, or the computer doesn't need us to do things. It's going to become more and more like necessary, I think, for the government to start financing our existence. Like some countries already have a
basic universal income.
Yes. Yeah. And it does allow you to pursue your dreams a bit more. And if you want more money, you can work. But I think the more automated things go, the more that's going to become necessary all around the world. And I'm thinking this is going to be a centuries long process. But I think
absolutely.
eventually money won't make sense anymore. Because the jobs no one wants to do, robots can do it. Like, you don't want to be a garbage man, a robot can do it. But if you do want to be a garbage man, I think, like, if that's your dream, there's no reason you couldn't do it. It's just that if no human wants to step in and do a dirty job, it's not necessary for that to happen. So, because that's one argument I've heard against shedding the monetary system, is that, well, no one will do things like being a garbage man. No one will do those jobs that no one wants to do. But the whole thing is, we're going to outgrow the need for humans to do those things, in my opinion. What was the question? I went off a bit.
No, you did. I just asked what I was in your utopia. Money doesn't exist,
right? And I don't think, yeah. So I guess I answered that question.
So the monetary system will eventually become outdated,
right?
And right now, like, we couldn't just get rid of money.
Yeah, right now we couldn't do it, I don't think.
Yeah, okay. Because leads me to my next question here.
Mm-hmm.
What, if you can define it, this is a fun little question, what is money?
Okay. I mean, money is just, it's it's kind of like a point system that we use to, in a way, like, we place a value. I would.
Yeah, it's just another singular sentence. Because I'll just read it. I put, money is the noted equivalent of provided service or exchanged good.
Wait, read that again. I zoned.
Money is the noted equivalent of provided service or exchanged good.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And yeah, it's kind of the core of what it is, not like the philosophical, what is money?
Mm-hmm.
But see, to me, because, like, I'm with you on a lot of your values about what would involve a utopia, but I don't think money itself is evil, because a lot of people that want to talk about getting rid of money retroactively talk about the barter system. We should just go back to the barter system. I'm just like, right. Well, money is just the evolved form.
I agree.
Of the barter system. Yeah. Because what I wrote there was that money is the noted equivalent of provided services or goods. As in, I draw land surveys for a living.
Yeah.
I can't go up to every person when I want to buy groceries and trade them a land survey.
Right.
For my loaf of bread.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't the exchange rate isn't there.
Right.
And so as our work has diversified from just literally raising livestock or growing grains, you know, we've had to get creative with how we, you know, exchange goods.
Yeah.
The issues that arise from that now are, of course, what is the correct amount of money we should be receiving for our work?
Yeah.
And that's where we fall very short of a utopian society.
Oh yeah, we're nowhere
everything's
near
too
right
expensive.
Now.
And nobody's getting paid enough.
Right, exactly. The cost of living skyrocketing even as we speak, and the minimum wage stagnant.
Yeah.
National minimum wage. And you know,
the wealth disparity, the wealth gap.
Exactly. It's creating a class system. It's benefiting the wealthy. It's keeping the poor. You know, it's creating a worker class that can't earn its way out. You know, like one talking point among conservatives is, you know, like the baby boomer conservatives despise millennials and Gen Z, generally speaking. And, you know, they're talking about the housing market. Oh, millennials aren't buying houses. They're so selfish. They're not buying diamonds. They're not getting married. And, you know, their talking point is, you know, if they would just stop drinking Starbucks every day, they could buy a house. And I did the math. They're right. They could buy a house if they stop drinking Starbucks every day for 300 years.
Yeah, especially now. That's probably doubled to 600 years.
Yeah, probably. So it's ridiculous and I don't think that money is evil. Like, I agree with what you're saying that, you know, it's an evolution. It's an improvement on the barter system. If you don't have something to trade, you can go out and do something to earn points, to earn a value that you can trade, is what it is. But what I think is that we're going to get to a tipping point, and I think we're there. I think at this point in American history anyway, money is doing more harm than good to society in general. We aren't in a place, I think, where we can just shed the monetary system. I think we need to advance a little bit more. But yeah, it's not that money is evil. I think you know, evil people will do evil things with money.
Yeah, see, like I feel like the monetary system could fit into a utopian society. It just has to be a much better regulated system, because it's regulated in the worst possible way right now, where it is regulated to benefit a certain minority.
Yeah, the 1%, say.
Yes. It is well regulated. The monetary system is very well regulated, just in a way that hurts 99% of people.
Exactly. It's doing more harm than good.
So I have another question here.
Okay.
For us to a good turning point here, because this, I mean, it all relates, but do people work in Utopia?
I think so. I think, but the
do people have to have jobs in a Utopia?
I don't think so. I think if your big calling in life is to be a couch potato in a Utopia, you can do that. But I don't think, it kind of goes back to, you know, 2 episodes ago, I think we were talking about human nature. Or was it the last one? Yeah, it's so, I mean, to me, it's I think it is human nature to strive to achieve things. I think, you know, if we're not burdened by the need to get a grunt job, it's we're free to do work that enriches us and that enriches our society. You know, we're free to pursue poetry. We're free to, if you want to pursue a medical degree, because there will always be people who have a genuine passion for healing the sick. I think people will always, there's always going to be somebody who wants to be a teacher. There's always going to be, it's the work that brings meaning and value to your life that you're going to be able to do, to the point that it's not like you're just clocking in 9 hours, making some rich person richer, going home with your piddly paycheck and struggling to find meaning in your life or time to sleep or enough money to eat something other than pasta. Like, I think,
not that there's anything wrong with it.
No, there's nothing wrong with it, especially when you're cooking it. Like, I'll get fat off of your pasta all day. But and chefs, we're always going to have people who have a passion for cooking and feeding people. There are personal passions that people can pursue as work that do serve the community. But yeah, I think people will work because they want to. People want to do things. Okay, like an example of an inconsistently portrayed utopian society in sci-fi is Star Trek. There's no money in Star Trek, except when there is, as I said, inconsistently portrayed.
Right.
But for the most part, that's kind of like all these people who are out on starships exploring the universe. They're not getting paid to do it. They're out there because that's what they want to do. It enriches their lives. They dedicate themselves to this service because they can do whatever they want, pretty much. If they wanted to stay home and be a novelist, that's all they'd have to do. And they could perfect that, But yeah, what about you? What do you think? I've been talking and talking and talking.
No, I've been taking it all in. I wrote like a little thing, and you touched on some of this, but I wrote that, do people work in Utopia? And I wrote yes. Like, that's the short answer though.
Okay.
And then I go into more detail discussing how there would have to be a cultural shift regarding work, sort of like what you said, where it's more like, because with my limited scope of experience, like I've already mentioned in this episode here, I draw land surveys for a living. It's not glorious,
right?
But it is, and it's not. And I work for a LLC. I don't work for the state, but all of these documents that I provide, that I draw, are necessary for purchasing a home or building something on your home site. Cities require those things, so they are essentially, they're legal documents that cities require tenants and owners to provide in order to do certain things. I don't think it can be automated. I don't think like the whole surveying industry can be automated. And so again, this is my limited scope here and trying to apply it to a utopian society.
Right. And you would know, because that's your business.
Right. And there are certain things that are able to be automated, and we're getting closer to those things, but not in the next 100 years or so. And what I'm getting at is, it's not necessarily, garbage man level of I don't want to do this. But I don't think it's hard for me to imagine it being anybody's calling. But so somebody would have to do it, is what I think. And so, like, I think in a utopian society, in my utopia, it would look very similar to what we have now, just in my city, except with just way less stress.
Right.
20-hour work weeks, basic universal income, free health care.
Yeah.
and free college. You want to get higher education, go for it. Like my job right now could be an entry level job, something we talk about, fast food workers now.
Yeah.
Somebody could get have a much better education coming out of high school and be able to sit down and do my job with minimal training.
Yeah.
And get do it for 20 hours a week and get paid as much as I do now. And then be able to do whatever they want on the side.
Right.
And but getting back to the culture, people would just be happier generally with all of those basic needs met. Like what I said at the beginning about what a utopia to me is where all basic needs are provided and people are free to choose their pursuits with minimal personal risk. This sort of rolls back into that, where if all my basic needs are provided and I have to, work 3 days a week, for 8 hours a day, every other day throughout a 6-day work week, and then have one for 2 days off in a row or something like that.
Yeah.
And then that would be way better, but somebody's got to do it. And the monetary system is complex, sure. Like because I'd have to imagine a world where my LLC isn't just trying to stay afloat and get rich and everybody increase everybody's pay as much as we can and
right,
all of that. So my personal scope, again, not trying to apply it, but it doesn't really work. But I just think about those jobs that you don't think about. Nobody wants to do the nobody wants to do jobs,
right?
But there are jobs that I feel like are necessary for a functioning society.
Yeah, that a human has to do.
That a human has to do.
Like,
and it would have to be incentivized somehow, even in a utopian society. However, once again, the culture would be different to where you're so happy to be a part of your community that you don't think twice about being a civil servant for 5 years.
Right. And that could be what it is. It's that everybody has to take a turn doing the jobs that help keep society functioning that nobody wants to do. Like, I think
it could be like mandatory military service, but instead it's mandatory civil service.
Exactly. I think that would be great because, that's another thing. Like, who's going to join the military if they don't have to?
I think that's plenty of people's callings, though.
Well, some people, yeah, but I don't know. Like, there's a lot of people. I mean, again, the monetary system,
maybe
the rich politicians,
mandatory military,
right? But like the rich politicians declare war, and they send the poor people who have no choice but to join the military in order to get into school and have a future off to fight the wars. And none of those people would be in the military who are just trying to escape poverty, so that's kind of but also I think politicians can't be automated, but I think that's a whole other thing. Like it could be kind of like the draft. It's like everybody's in the system and you're gonna, or jury duty. It's like you get appointed, you get called, your number gets called, and you have to go serve on Congress for a term. And that would eliminate, because you don't have to raise money to run for office.
But wait, I'm a painter though. I don't want to go to Congress.
Right, but you represent a portion of the population. There are artists, and they would be represented by an artist, not some corporate fat cat. I
don't care about other artists.
See, and I mean, that's the thing. Humans will always be humans. There's always going to be somebody who doesn't want to cooperate. There's always going to be a draft dodger.
Painters.
I probably would have been a draft dodger if I were around during Vietnam and stuff.
Yeah, no, but see, then again, but if all my friends are going,
right, it's your values. You have to shift your priorities based on what's going on.
If all 6 of my dudes are going, I'm going too.
I'm with you there. I would too, because I
But if
wouldn't want
I've
to
been
sit
like a
home and let all my closest friends risk their lives in a war. I'd want to be there trying to help
yeah,
them get home alive.
yeah, no,
And
and see that. But if I was just an outcast nobody, yeah,
mhm,
screw it, I'm going to Canada.
right.
Like, uh, it's sort of like they, you know, I don't care as long as it's not somebody close to me.
hmm
But yeah, utopia is hard. I don't know if it's
Yeah, no
possible
doubt. Mm.
because just because like what you described with like what we both described with the mandatory civil service or
hmm
like you have to serve the community, that already sounds a little big brothery.
hmm
Like, we're happy here, you have to contribute to everybody's happiness and
Right.
you have to. So what happens if they don't? you know
Yeah. But it's
but it would take a huge cultural shift
it really
that would
would.
span multiple centuries, like you pointed out.
hmm I
Like,
I think
go
we'll
ahead.
get there is all I'm saying. Like I think it's inevitable, but it's
It's hard for
long
us to
term
imagine
inevitable. Right.
as we're sloshing through this
hmm
2022 United States of America
hmm
as lower class citizens. it's
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
it's
we
hard to imagine a utopia.
right, because we're in a world where you struggle to survive even in the richest country on earth.
Yeah, and you have
Um,
to step on each other's toes to get ahead,
mhm.
oftentimes knock somebody else down.
Right. It's kind of cutthroat, and that's the culture that you're competing. Everybody's competing for resources on a planet where there are enough resources. There is enough food on this planet. In the United States of America, there is enough food to feed everyone on Earth,
Oh
and
yeah,
we
there's enough
throw it
energy
away.
to stop fossil fuels.
Uh-huh.
There's enough renewable energy to stop fossil fuels, but we won't. There's enough
No.
food to feed everybody on the planet, but we won't.
Right, because the
you
people
know
in power are not going to vote to change things that benefit them, and their whole benefits come from money.
yeah,
Money and the power that comes with it. And so they don't want to do anything to upset that system. Um,
yeah,
and it sucks.
I don't
Like,
think they're mentally capable of it. They're
no,
addicted to power,
right.
addicted to money.
hmm Yeah, they're not mentally capable of it. And I mean, that's not to say they're stupid. It's that they are indoctrinated so deeply. Like, I tried to discuss this very issue with a friend of mine a couple of years back, and how I was saying I think eventually the monetary system is going to go away, that we're on a path in that direction, in my opinion. And he couldn't grasp. He kept his argument was, um, almost akin to someone saying, "Oh, the Bible is true because the Bible says so." It was like, but you can't get rid of money, because then how would people earn money?
Yeah,
And I'm like, no, there wouldn't be money. And he's
yeah,
like, but then he just couldn't understand the concept of no money, because
right.
we're born into a world where money is a thing, and it's a game. It's imaginary. It's a stand-in for the barter system, like you said.
Yeah, but I don't think it's wrong either,
Uh-huh.
because
No, it was a
how do you
necessary evolution.
but then you talk about luxuries
hmm
versus necessities, and you can't have a utopia where somebody's just drowning in luxury
Right.
because that's all they want.
hmm
you know Basically, I'm saying, like, there would have to be a certain degree of merit based
Mm.
compensation.
Right.
But because how do you buy your Xbox? Do you need an Xbox? You don't need an Xbox.
Right. And you could
But
probably just print one out. Like, when
yeah,
we when
honestly,
we get there, and food too. Like, I mean, that's one of the things that has me thinking we're on the way to several hundred years from now, there will not be money. It's like 3D printers, how you can print out functioning human organs. You can print out anything just about, and it's very rudimentary compared to what it's going to be in the future. And just that, I don't think, but what you're saying, like someone just living in luxury, like I think in a true utopian society, there would be no room for a life of excess. Like there wouldn't be. Like no one could take all the stuff, no one could really take more than their fair share. And that's kind of where it starts sounding like socialism, which I don't think is a bad word.
No, it's definitely not a bad word. It's just all of these concepts. I mentioned cultural shift like 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
They're hard to envision,
right?
Because of what you said, where this is so ingrained into us. It's difficult to imagine, because you have to imagine a society overall thinking differently than our society does now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard enough to find one person that's on the same page as you,
right,
and can get behind a progressive ideal.
Mm-hmm.
We're still trying to do that every day here.
Mm-hmm.
we're fighting progress stoppers every day.
Every day, yes.
Yeah. Roe v. Wade, will it be overturned? That's not a topic for this episode. We basically made it a topic for last episode.
Right, pretty much.
And but we're fighting against that. And so when we think about utopia, it's hard to think about it whenever we're just battling for basic human rights.
Yes.
Today.
I agree. That's why I don't think we could do it today. We couldn't pull off a
we couldn't
vast
just flip on the utopia shift or switch. Yeah. I have a question that I didn't write down here, but would have been one that I would have asked myself earlier. What does criminal law look like in a utopian society?
Oh, I bet it looks way different. Because like the prison system is largely for profit.
Right.
Prisoners are abused. I think you take away money, you remove money from that whole thing, you have way fewer people in prison to begin with. People don't go to prison for as long if they do go to prison. Like prison, I think, becomes more truly a reformation, like reforming people rather than punishing them. And something else. Like the bailing people out of jail will not be a thing. No one will be sitting in jail simply because no one can afford to bail them out for like traffic tickets or something. And people will sit in jail and just sit there because no one can afford to bail them out. And that's a crooked thing, and it's all about money. So I think that would go away. Like, I think if money is not a factor, if lawyers aren't just trying to make money, if judges can't be paid off, if the Supreme Court can't be bought, I think we'll have more actual justice in the criminal justice system and just all around.
Yeah, I like what you said about more reformation rather than punishment, because it's just like drug addicts that end up going to prison,
right,
or getting caught with large quantities of drugs, which, believe it or not, were all for personal use, because they have a problem. But now they get booked for distribution,
right,
and
even though they had no intent to distribute,
right. And now they're in for a year or two, and then they experience horrific things there, and then they end up in the revolving door.
Right.
They lost their job. If they had a job, they lost it. If they had a home, they lost it. If they had family and friends, they lost them.
Right. And no one
And
wants to
now,
hire them.
yeah, and yeah, no, yeah, drugs would be decriminalized in a utopia.
Absolutely. I think so.
I don't think people would want to do them as much. I think,
Mm-hmm.
because
Because you wouldn't
people
need to
don't just
escape as
wake up one
much.
day. Yeah, people don't wake up one day and decide to just become an addict. They
Right.
don't wake up one day and decide, yeah, I'm gonna go rob houses for a living. People do it
Mm-hmm.
because they can't live conventionally. They
Mm-hmm.
feel like they often do it because they have no other choice
Mm-hmm.
but to steal copper off of AC units,
Right.
and to be able to pay for their child support,
Uh-huh.
and so that they have to pay for their child support so that way they can afford their rent,
Mm-hmm.
which is way too high. So
Mm-hmm.
they're out here stealing catalytic converters from parking lots
Right.
because they have to. People, no, nobody's going to get rich off of crime unless it's big crime.
Right.
And
And then you're the
but
kingpin
that's
and
our
you're just,
but that's our political system right now.
yeah, exactly. It's a mirror image. Like the criminal underworld is a mirror image of politics
Yeah,
in this country. It's the same. You've got the fat cats, the kingpins,
yeah,
and the pawns, the grunts, the people who do the dirty work to keep the kingpins on the throne, pretty much.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, in a utopia where all basic needs are met and you're free to pursue your own dreams,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, I don't think people are going to turn to crime all that much to begin with.
No, I
And the only
agree.
people that are probably will are the people that have a screw loose,
Yeah, I was gonna say the mentally
like
ill.
rapists
Yeah,
and murderers. You know,
exactly.
they will still exist,
Mm-hmm.
and you know
Because that's
that
not something that they're trying to survive.
well, they
That's,
are in their own mind,
well,
maybe,
right, but
but
it's, yeah, it's like they have a fixation on a behavior,
yeah.
but yeah, so it is
And
different. It's a
then we
different kind of
probably
crime.
doctors would be able to pursue their muses more freely, and we could
Mm-hmm.
probably get delve deeper into the human psyche in
Oh
order
yeah.
to understand what makes serial killers, what makes
Yes.
rapists rapists, and what
Yeah.
makes pedophiles, and we'd be able
Mm-hmm.
to weed that out of our society probably. But you can't do
Right.
that now.
No.
Doctors aren't free to do that because they still have to have a practice where they're actively making money somehow.
Uh-huh. And in order to do research like that, you need mad funding.
Mad funding, and nobody
Mm-hmm.
wants to fund that stuff because it's so out there right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trying to link behavior, like behavioral science is so underfunded right now because it's
Mm-hmm.
such a outlandish thing. It's hard to prove. It's all conjecture at this point, but
Yeah.
that's also because there's no funding behind it.
Mm-hmm.
It's always evolving because somebody finally gets funding, is able to do a study, and then figures out, no, not every dude wants to bang their mom growing up.
Right.
It's like,
Right. Freud.
turns
Freud
out
was
we were
weird.
wrong about that one. Yeah. He probably did want to,
Right. He
but
did, and he was trying to say everybody did.
yeah,
I
if
don't
I
know.
do, probably everybody does. But yeah,
Uh-huh.
so like, behavioral science completely underfunded, and then it's always changing because somebody finally gets to study it
Right.
when they finally get some funding for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so in a utopia, more psychologists, because like psychologist isn't a profession right now. Large
Right.
on the large scale,
Mm-hmm.
if you get a psychology degree, you don't become a psychologist because
Right.
you have to be able to pay $1,500 for your 600 square foot one bedroom apartment,
Mm-hmm.
and so you can't just be psychologist. You have to get a
Right.
job.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's ridiculous. But, and like when you're talking about research funding and stuff, that if we had funded things, it would make a huge impact. One thing that came to mind is that I think in a utopia, like in a true global utopia where we've transcended, all the terrible things, we won't get old either, because one thing that's terribly underfunded is research into aging and aging related illnesses. Because I read a book by a guy who was talking all about it, and he's like the head of such a group where they do that kind of research, and he was talking all about how much they could do if they had funding, but nobody funds it because aging isn't considered a disease, which is changing. It's about to change big time, and that's going to change how we look at things like that. But I think, if they don't have to fight for funding for things like that, we know why people age, and in a lot of ways how to undo the damage. So I think once we hit that true utopia, you're not going to have old people in a utopia, not because everybody dies young, but because everybody stays youthful. Like, people will be healthier all around in a utopia. It'll be a much healthier, happier society, because nobody has to go without, and nothing is holding back research that will change life as we know it altogether. Like, what the human experience even is going to be vastly different.
We'll have to take to the stars at that point.
Right. And nothing will be stopping us, because, funding is what's kept us from colonizing the solar system.
No, yeah. This point. And then what you just said, I can think of I can think of myriad problems that involve people living longer lives.
Oh,
but
yeah.
In a utopia, there are problem-solving protocols.
Right.
Where it's not like, for example, one of the problems that I think of is if people live longer, then, overpopulation. Overpopulation leads to food shortage.
Right.
And food shortage leads to starvation.
And
starvation leads to declining birth rates and higher infant mortality rates and all of that stuff. Fun stuff. But in a utopia, there would be like problem-solving protocol, which would stop the domino effect that I just described.
Oh, yeah.
If people are living longer, and it wouldn't be like, oh, we unlock this research, now everybody is just going to live to 120. It would be a gradual thing.
Right.
Sure. Where they're youthful into their twilight years. That doesn't mean they're impervious to death.
Right. No, they're not immortal. Just kind of, you don't die from old age. You don't die from biological atrophy. But you can still get hit by a bus. You can still get
about some heavy
novel
stuff there
disease.
where if people can, just stop aging, then we're going to need some serious birth control.
Well, but the thing is, that
I like it because in Utopia, it would just be, let's go to the stars then. Well, there's too many people here on Earth. Well, let's colonize.
Exactly. Like,
let's get there.
There are no limits.
Food, let's grow more.
And
it
another,
wouldn't be like, well, we shouldn't just let people live that long. It would be, let's accommodate for people living longer, rather than people shouldn't live that long.
And there's also the fact that the longer people live in a society, the numbers show that birth rates tend to drop. Like, if people live longer, they wait later to have children. And when they have plenty, when people have lots of money and such, like when they have all their needs met, they wind up having fewer children, which is weird, but that's kind of how it works out. So if we're living longer, more fulfilled lives, we're going to have children later and less frequently. So there may not be an overpopulation problem. Like people will still have children.
Yeah, I guess at that point I would just worry about population collapse.
Uh-huh.
Like, if there was some outbreak of some disease and there weren't children being born,
Right.
and then all healthy adults start perishing, and there could be a serious population collapse.
Yeah.
Where there's a huge because like if it gets to that point, then the generational gaps will get larger.
Yes, that's true. And like I think that's not a reason to like not go towards something
Not
utopian.
research. Yeah,
because
research will happen in parallels.
Yeah, exactly.
As research increases in one field, it will increase in other fields as well. So if there is research that stops aging, you can bet that there will be research that fights disease, and there will be research that increases food productivity, and research that helps us colonize in outer space.
Right.
It's not like one will get so far ahead of the other.
Exactly.
Where now we're all starving on Earth, but we're healthy 150-year-olds.
Right. Other than the fact that we're starving. Yeah, you're right. Everything goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
And different groups will be researching different areas of improving our lives.
Right.
So yeah, it kind of all
Utopia
will balance
sounds
out.
Cool.
It does. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. We can start a utopia right here. Let's just forget there's a government that doesn't like it.
Yeah, forget there's a government.
Yeah.
I wish we had some real world examples of because the closest thing in the real world right now that I can think of are like those combines. Like
what?
Where you just go and live on a farm and self-sustain.
Yeah.
And
communes. Yeah, communes. That's a
combine.
I don't know. That's when you combine something. I don't know. Yeah. Did we make up a word? I think you meant to say commune. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, like the hippie communes is what I'm thinking of. And they kind of do like, I think they have some form of barter system. I think they do a lot of everybody pitches in.
Right.
Kind of stuff.
It's a cultural shift. It's like if we went there, it'd be culture shock.
Right.
Because they live differently. They don't think, well, I did all this today, so I get to eat more.
Right.
I did this and it's more important than what you do, so I get to eat more than you.
Yeah.
It's not like that. It's everybody did what they wanted. Like everybody did what they were supposed to do for when they were supposed to do it. If one person is doing too much, hey, go give that guy some help. Let's make sure that they have enough, laborers to complete their labor tasks as efficiently as possible and as fairly as possible, and then everybody eats.
Yeah. But it's also kind of, and it's like anything, like a drug is either medicine or poison, depending on who's holding it and what they're going to do with it. Like, I think communities like that, there's a dark side to it as well. You see a lot of cult leaders put a society like that together. Yes.
Waco stands for?
No, what?
Oh, we ain't coming out.
Jeez.
Thanks,
that
Dad.
was terrible.
Dad told me that one last weekend.
All right, put him in jail immediately.
Yeah, he knows too much.
Right.
But yeah, no, the cult leaders. I was literally thinking when we were talking about how do you say communes?
Communes.
There we go. Yeah. It's all fun and games till they start marrying off 14-year-old girls.
Right.
That's when it starts to go down the drain a little bit. Some guy starts waving torches around and talking about the end is nigh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not a
I mean,
utopia.
no, not in my book.
Not in my book. Yeah.
Yeah. So
But
like,
yeah, that's the only real world example like I can think of.
mm-hmm,
And then the like the broken example is America.
mm,
Like, America for a long time to the rest of the world was a utopia until
mm,
they get here. And now with social media and world news networks, the rest of the world is realizing, hey, America kind of sucks.
right,
Like,
right. I mean, we're behind. It's the richest nation on earth, but that doesn't help most of us.
yeah,
Most of us are not, like, I think on a global scale, yes, we're rich. We're sitting here talking to each other via computers from the same different rooms in the same house. Like, how many computers are in this house? We're struggling to survive by American standards. But
yeah,
globally, there are people who do not have running water or floors in their homes,
yeah,
like, so, but still, it's it sucks. Like,
yeah,
we're fighting for our basic human rights every day in this country. We're not like what people used to think of. Like, what was it? That old cartoon movie, An American Tail. Did you ever see it?
the one with the mouse, right?
Yeah, the mouse. Fievel.
No, I've seen. It's probably stored in the back of my memory
Uh-huh.
from when I was like 4 years old. But yeah, I
What's a
got nothing from it other than there was a mouse in it.
well, it's a great movie. It's because it's about the American dream. It's about the mice are a family of immigrants coming to America, and like they're singing this song on the way over here. There are no cats in America, and the streets are made of cheese. Like, that's
Oh
what
yeah,
they, yeah, and it's like that they get to America, there are cats. The streets are not made of cheese. Like, it's really great, but it kind of speaks to what you were saying.
yeah. No,
Just
because
came
you
to
get on
mind.
social media now, and it's like, man, I'm glad I don't live in a third world country like the United States.
Right, where you can't get an abortion. Just
You
no.
can't smoke a plant.
Right, you can't smoke a plant. You don't have control over your own consciousness. You can't.
Yeah, you still get shot over your skin color. Like,
Right,
and
right.
yeah, it's overall like not a good time.
Hmm.
You can't even hold office unless you profess belief in a god
Oh, right, and that should be challenged. Like, yeah, in Texas,
in like
that's the
14
law.
states. Yeah,
Hmm.
and Texas being right at the top of the list of those.
Right,
You have
which is,
to,
that's a unenforceable. That's a blatant violation of the United States Constitution. The separation of church and state.
yeah,
You can't have that law on the books, and yet it is. So, and who knows, like, the current Supreme Court might uphold that, even
oh
though
yeah,
it is an absolute objective violation of separation of church and state to say an atheist can't run for office.
yeah.
Jeez.
All you got to do is lie. I mean, you just have to lie at that point.
Yeah, pretty much.
If I wanted to get into office, I just have to lie.
Hmm.
Be like, yeah, me and God are totally cool. Go
Right.
God.
Jesus is a friend of mine. God bless
Yeah.
America.
God bless America.
Jeez, like every politician has to say that.
Yeah,
But
you have to.
mhm. Otherwise, because people, it's a big deal in this country if you believe in God or not. And, it's
Even
really,
though the
they only
last
care
stat
about
that I saw,
Christianity.
yeah, and then even though the last stat that I saw was that like 42% of Americans now don't adhere to any faith or religion.
Right, right. And religion is the biggest reason for that.
Yeah,
Religion itself. Um,
yeah. Like
but
more people identify as being spiritual than being religious.
mhm, yeah.
I just made that up, but I believe it.
No,
Like if
but
somebody told me that, I'd believe that.
well, it's a growing trend,
Yeah,
like people who have no profession of faith, so to speak, no faith in particular. They're not part of a religion. but a
no
lot of
idea.
them are spiritual, but not dogmatic.
That would be a good one. Where does religion exist in a utopian society?
Right. And I think it would just be whatever, it would be kind of like there wouldn't be any laws regarding religion, which is what's in our laws. There will be no law regarding religion. That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But every law seems to be regarding religion these days.
Yeah, but like, what do you do if a religious sect like gains too much power in a utopia?
Yeah, good question. I mean, because again, you will always have humans in a human society. There will always be people who want to make the drug a poison rather than a medicine. There will always be people who take advantage of something.
Because like I think about like corruption. That's why it's basically why communism never works, is because humanity can't be trusted.
Right.
Because somebody always gets handed the keys and says, okay, do a good job, make sure everybody's treated fairly. And then he says, yes, I will do a great job, and then takes the keys and runs away with funds, state funds, and screws everything up for everybody. And that's why communism always fails, is because you have to rely on your fellow man. You have to rely on those in power to make sure that everybody is treated fairly, as a community, hence communism. But it doesn't work because there's no oversight.
Right.
And the ones overseeing are the ones corrupting.
And like, what if it does all finally work because we create a god in the form of an AI, episode, like an AI that's like governing things.
Are you plugging next week's episode right now?
Well, I don't even know what next week's episode is. What do we have down?
It's not AI, but that's further down the list.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were wrapping up the episode and segueing into into pay attention next week, where we carry this over. This is a good place to wrap up. And we've been going for what, a little over an hour now.
Probably. I don't know. I didn't even look at the time when we started.
Yeah, I don't want to drag this out into the wee hours of the morning.
Right, because we do still have to go slave away for our measly paychecks in the morning.
Next week will be Advanced Civilizations in Prehistory.
Oh, hells yes.
hosted by Glenn Clark.
So, right. I'm leading that one. I'm directing that one or whatever.
Maybe I'll do some research on that one, because I don't know jack squat about Advanced Civilizations in Prehistory.
I have books in the library.
Other than
I can.
A library. What's that? Was that an advanced civilization in prehistory?
Right. Yeah, nah. That's gonna be a fun one.
I'm a millennial. I've never heard of a library.
Nonsense, boy. I've seen your bookshelf.
Yeah.
You live in a house with a library in it.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, that'll be a fun one. Indeed.
Yeah, so Utopia. Who knows?
Right. Yeah. I know, just one more thought, if I may.
Go.
Just, because I saw I think last week I saw Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So this isn't a spoiler, because it's just a little thing that was in there, a little detail. You can tell by the title it has to do with multiverses. And one of the things they do, they go into this one parallel Earth, and one character who is adept at traveling the multiverse just grabs some food from a kiosk and starts eating it. And the other character's like, what are you doing? You have to pay for that. And she's like, no, in most universes, food is free. Like, only in your universe you have to pay to eat. It's really kind of ridiculous. And then, I started thinking about that, and it is ridiculous that we have to pay to eat. It's kind of like we only accept it as normal because it's the world we've grown up in. But how is that different from paying to breathe? It's like something
I don't
that's
know.
readily available. And I think once we get into a society that's more like that, they're going to look back at us and think we were insane. Like, might as well have been charging for every breath that we take. And if we can't afford to breathe, we take away your air.
It all depends, because like we discussed at the beginning of this thing with the monetary system,
Mm-hmm.
I think money evolved from a barter and trade system, and but I think you don't work, you don't eat. That's the main thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
At least in our current society, somebody had to grow that food.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's crazy that you have to pay for food.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that nobody's getting paid enough, and everything else is too expensive. Because food right now, food's not crazy expensive. It's just that everything else is so ridiculously expensive. I have to budget out $50 a week to eat on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true.
And so I should be able to buy more, but so much of my funds are taken by other things.
Right, exactly. And I mean, that's why I think it's not wrong in a society that runs on money for people to pay for food, but I think it's wrong that if you can't pay for food, that you're left to starve when we're throwing food away. Like, no one should go hungry in a world with this much food just because they don't have money.
Project Poyo, they have 3 options on their menu that are pay what you can.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. You can walk in there and do a pay what you can. And you can get like a chicken sandwich, some chicken nuggets, or then like one other thing that's on their menu that's on the pay what you can menu.
That's awesome. I forgive them for having such high prices now.
Yeah.
Like, we paid like $30 for 2 sandwiches.
No, it was 20. It was 20. It was less than, it was 1948. And I said to the girl,
oh, that's right.
Year, and she just looked at me funny.
That's right.
And nobody ever gets my joke, my dad joke.
I get it. No, I make that joke
to a girl one time at
all the time.
And the year was like the total was like 1774.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, that was a good year. And she's like, oh, is that when you were born?
Oh, that's
it's just like it's like yes, I'm a vampire. Nice to meet you.
That's funny, because that's how I usually make that joke. Like, they'll say the price and I'm like, oh, that's the year I was born. So you combine 1632, sir. Oh, that's the year I was born. How convenient. What a coinky dink. But yeah, like, alrighty. I derailed your wrap up. Sorry. Well,
yeah, no.
Go ahead.
I don't know how to wrap up podcasts. We don't come up with anything like concrete before we start these things.
Right. This is how I like it.
If we don't wrap it up, Glenn will end up cutting 4 hours of footage into one.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, come and see us again. In the next episode, where we discuss civilizations in prehistory, advanced civilizations in prehistory, led by Mr. Glenn Clark. And I will do my best to participate in that conversation.
Well, I mean, you better,
because no episode where I sound I will try to sound more like a genius than an idiot, but we will see.
Yeah, I can point you in the direction of some things. Is this kind of like were there advanced civilizations in prehistory? I don't know.
Yeah, I've already got a good thought that I'm going to write down.
Okay, cool. I got none. I got nothing. I'm just gonna get on next week and be like, were there? I don't know. What do you have to say
I don't
about it?
know. This
I
has been
don't know.
Autodidactica.
Right.
We do a whole episode where we ask ourselves a question and this typical, I don't know. And thanks for coming out.
Yeah. Whereas clearly we're idiots. And then we'd still talk for an hour just about
like
nothing.
We're doing right now.
Yeah, like we're doing right now. We don't know how to say goodbye on this show. But but we have email if you want to reach out, Autodidactica podcast at gmail.com. I was supposed to say at something. I don't know. Try them all. We might. And if you're watching this on YouTube rather than listening to the podcast, you can leave a comment below and we will try to address.
What's your utopia? Yeah,
how off the mark were we according to you, or how on the mark?
Is there going to be money in your utopia? Do people work in your utopia? Are people required to work in your utopia?
Good questions. Let us know. And I got nothing more.
Good night.
I'm done. Oh, good night. Is that how we end these things? Good night.
I don't know.
Goodbye. Go away.
Where you are listening. Good night, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Matt.
I'm Glenn.
And this has been Autodidactica, a bunch of idiots.
Or geniuses. I still claim genius. All right. I guess we can go now.
Toodaloo.
Bye-bye.